Share Shootout brought to you by Lion of Africa Insurance, insuring South Africa's future.
You're watching the Share Shootout League. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Welcome to the show. It is the most vicious, sly, conniving, backbiting, backstabbing, nasty, stock-picking show on television, which is precisely why you're watching it here on CNBC Africa. Now, can the Gauteng Premier please tell those with ADD the state of the province in a nutshell? Why is it that England never is around doing the business end of the World Cup? And Ronaldo, shouldn't the world's best player in the World Cup win a World Cup just for once? Now, we don't know the answers to any of these absurd questions. What we do have is a Share Shootout League without a Big Brother association. As you can see, the league standings from the last match we had between Gary, who's running dog, and Sid, who is Maverick, running dog. What a big puppy he is. He is way in the lead, is our Gary. Running dog at 9 points. You've got Sid there following up with 3 points. A bunch of three-pointer losers who are following up there, including the Scot, Nick the value guy, and Sasha, who goes by the name of Bucks. These two guys play against each other tonight. That's Sasha and the value guy, of course. Yep, number 9 is the number to beat. The unscrupulous runaway groom at number 9. Look at Nao. Look at Levan, look at Clive, and look at Matthew. Shame. I didn't know 0 was a number. Certainly, 0 is a round number, and round numbers are exactly what we focus on here on Share Shootout League. Welcome to the show. Coming up first this evening, we have got a guy that at the beginning of the show, everyone was frightened of, everyone was terrified of. Rather than being the big dog, he goes by the name, of course, of Sasha.
Stand by for action.
My name is Alexander Naryshkine, but Sasha is short for Alexander. Call me Sasha, please. Everything from answering the phones.
Goldfield? Yes, I've heard of that company.
To attending to client emails. To, make payments, everything. We like to answer our own phones because when someone phones, strangely, they want to speak to us. Ignore lots of the noise in the short term. Buy the quality and stick with it for as long as possible. Get inside Bruce's head just to try and confuse him as much as possible. Yeah, and act like Carl Icahn. Outrageous. Like, this board is pathetic. I've never seen such a useless board. When, of course, it's someone else's pick. Yeah, that's how I think I'm going to win. Yeah, but you mustn't tell my competitors. Warren Buffett. No, I'm kidding. Has to be Bruce Whitfield. He's way too clever for everybody on this show. So if I can beat him, I'll be happy. I just need to beat Bruce. Then I think I'll win this league. Yeah.
Once the most feared guy on the show, Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact is going head-to-head with a veteran cyclist, a non-whiskey drinking Scotsman who still raced when TV was in black and white.
Yeah, so I've got to look like it's very important stuff we're doing here. Absolutely. Chris Gilmore, investment analyst with ABSA Wealth and Investments. Investment philosophy is very simple. Buy quality, get paid for holding it, and rarely, if ever, sell. That's interesting. Yeah, getting some cheeky emails here. I think we'll keep that a secret for the time being. I don't want to show my hand just yet. Biggest competitor is the famous Sasha Naryshkine. I think so, and I think maybe it's a bit different from previous times. I think the mind is going to be more concentrated now.
Now, both of these guys have pre-picked 3 shares. Neither knows what the other holds. Each one of them must accept at least one of the other guys' picks. Each of them has got 30 seconds to argue their pick, and then they can pick from the JSE Top 100. They're limited to 1 international stock pick per round from selected global indices. They don't have to go offshore, but they can if they want to. You guys, you're both ready?
Yes. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, Chris Gilmore was doing this, giving us the silent treatment. I think that means you go first, Chris Gilmore.
Scots, yeah, it's
there we go. And so, Chris Gilmore, I'm surprised by this pick because this is a one-time darling of the stock exchange, possibly the favorite retail share of all time, probably your second favorite retail share of all time, Sasha Naryshkine. What might that be? I mean, I look at the way you dress, and I'm guessing you don't shop there all that often, but I haven't seen your undies. The share would be?
Well, it's not going to be Woolies, so no. I think it's Mr. Price.
Mr. Price would be absolutely right. That's a very good guess, Sasha. 30 seconds on Mr. Price, please, Chris Gilbert. Tell me why you like it.
Hugely iconic company. This is to South Africa what the gap is to the US. Compound annual growth rate in earnings of 23%, 23.4% over the past 28 years. And in the share price, compound annual growth of 27%. This is a company that has got 2 things going for it, other than the fact that it's really pumping in South Africa as a lot of consumers trade down to it. it. First of all, in the rest of Africa, they've got some great stores in Nigeria and Ghana, but online, I think, is the big thing here. They are now shipping to 120 countries worldwide from their website. They understand online.
There we go. They understand online. It's a fairly new innovation for them. I was going to interrupt, but that would have been rude within your 30-second window of opportunity. It's like a parliamentary speech, a maiden speech. No one can interrupt. Mr. Price is like the Gap of America to South Africans.
Definitely.
How
Yes.
so?
How?
In terms of...
Because if it was, he'd be wearing Mr. Price.
Yes.
Well, we'll come on to that later, but I think in terms of the iconic nature of it, the fact that it's very much the kind of younger generation, which is what the gap was. That's what it was called, the generation gap originally, you know? So I think from that perspective, perhaps the quality of the clothes, maybe not quite in the same sort of bracket, but again, as I say, I think if you try and transplant that whole kind of concept from the US to here, this is very much what it is.
Got you. Sasha, you've got to like Mr. Price.
Well, now that he's had 3 minutes.
It's been a high flyer for a long time. It's been a spectacular performer for a long time. And it has read the retail cycle, the clothing retail cycle, better than anyone else.
And of course didn't get mixed up too much in the credit cycle and never have. Although, you know, that's starting to unfold a little bit for them, happier to get credit sales of a better quality. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I would consider them neither shopping down nor shopping up. I think they're somewhere in the middle, and that's why they're so perfect for South Africa and probably the rest of the continent, because you're able to bring affordable style, and this season's style specifically. So people don't feel like they're overpaying for their merchandise. But they realize that the quality is perhaps not as good as the places you shop at, Bruce, which aren't even listed.
No, they're not even listed. They're so exclusive. They're so boutique.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, and Chris, you snobs you.
We could wear this for 30 years and would still look out of date. So, Sasha, Mr. Price, short term, but that's what the market wants, and the market likes it. The market's prepared to pay up to a point for it.
Well, sometimes you have to pay up for quality.
And are you prepared to pay up for this quality, for the quality of the share, not the quality of the stitch?
Yeah, I know how the game works. So I got to pick one quality business in between here. So I'm going to go with the easy patsy one and say, I'm going to pick
taking
Chris's.
that?
Yes.
Absolutely right. Okay, I think you may live to regret that. But Sasha Naryshkine,
always, Bruce,
we move on swiftly and we look at your first stock pick this evening, which is fertile, which is explosive, which is remarkable. If it's fertile and explosive,
it's got to be Chris.
Omnia.
Oh, yes.
It's not
We're
Sassel.
on fire. Yeah.
It's Omnia. In 30 seconds, tell me why.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's the whole concept. It's the people who make the spades and pickaxes who will benefit in an agricultural boom and in a mining boom. So they've got open cast technology on a mining front, which means that all the big Medupi and Kusile coal supply needs to come from their explosives specifically, and also Africa has most of the arable land that's left globally. So, fertilizer is going to be really important for being able to export and grow enough crops to meet our own internal needs.
There we go. Beautifully done.
Thanks.
Masterfully done. Not bad for a guy who's sitting on
practiced
3 points down at the bottom of the league after being the most feared player at the start. Sorry.
We only played 2.
There we go. You're still on 3 points at
Easy.
the bottom of the league. But one of you will go to 6 this evening, the
Yes.
winner of this particular game. So, will you make it his game or will you make it yours, Chris Gilmore? Do you like Omnia?
I've liked Omnia ever since I first looked at it in the 1980s when Dr. Winkler was running the show. And I think everything that Sasha has said about it really stands the test of time. As you go further and further into this decade, into the next decade, I think food is going to become so critically important. And these guys are spot on. Very, very well managed company. They've had a few ups and downs over the past 20 odd years, but they've come through them remarkably well. I like it.
You like it. And over the last 20 years, watching its track record ever since Mr. Winkler was in charge.
Dr. Winkler.
Dr. Winkler, I beg your pardon. Has it been a fairly steady series of good dividend payments? Has it been a fairly steady trajectory on the share price over that period of time? If it's one that you'd bought and held over 20 years, would you have been rewarded handsomely over that period?
I'm not so sure that you would have.
More recently.
Yeah, more recently. There's quite a few ups and downs.
Okay.
But I think, as Sasha says, more recently, I think this has become quite a firm favourite.
Okay,
So
there we go.
capacity expansion, in terms of rolling
he's
out
bought
new
it.
plants. But he had 3 minutes.
He had 3 minutes, but he's bought it. You were so much better than him, Sasha.
Oh, thanks, Bruce.
Yes. No, only on this particular stock, of course. You're taking it, are you, Chris
I'm
Gilmore?
taking it.
There we go. Chris Gilmore is
Yes.
taking your Omnia pick this evening, the mighty Omnia. Okay, Chris Gilmore, on to your second stock pick this evening. Now, this is interesting because you're sticking in the retail space. I'm going to let you guess which stock he's going for this evening, Sasha.
Sticking in the retail space.
Possibly,
Gee, Bruce.
possibly the favourite retail stock of the moment, which would be...
Woolworths.
Woolworths in 30 seconds. Start now. You're
This
predictable.
is very much the preserve of the emerging middle class. And although a lot of people have perceived the company's goods to be expensive, in fact, they're perceived to be quality as well. It's interesting the way that they've recently changed the strategies away from Nigeria, for example, and into Australia. It's a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And I think it's going to pay them handsomely in the next few years. They understand Australia exquisitely. It's a rand hedge stock, and everything's coming together. Food, clothing, general merchandise, financial services.
You look at the history of South African companies in Australia, and it's like driving through the outback, and they're the carcasses of failed South African businesses in Australia, most notably Pick n Pay. Others have been and have come back with their tails between their legs. Westbank did that as well. What makes the foray of Woolworths into Australia different this time, if at all, Sasha?
Well, firstly, because they've got a Scotsman in charge of
Who
Woolies.
worked in Australia for
Who worked-
15
Scottish
years.
Australian.
A Scottish Australian living in South Africa, yes.
What
He's
could
covering all
possibly-
his bases.
What could
yeah.
possibly go wrong?
So, and I'm going to play this game strategically. I'm going to accept this because I think Chris is going to accept one of my other two. I think so. That's how I'm going to play this. And the reasons why you would want to back this Woolworths team is because 2 decades of management experience, and they bought Country Road. What is unknown to many people is Country Road was a beaten up business when they bought it. So, this acquisition of David Jones is going to be interesting because there's the minority shareholder in Country Road who's trying to block the David Jones deal, bizarrely.
He's causing all kinds of trouble. Mr. Lou, yes.
So, but I don't think he'll succeed because I think in terms of Australian law, you only need 75%. And there's no way that he's got that ammo to be able to purchase that much of a stake
But
in
for those of
David
us
Jones.
who are looking at David Jones, we're saying, what is it like? Is it a bit like Stutterford's? What kind of a shop
I think
is it?
so, yeah.
Yeah, look, I've never been there, but I've read
To
the
Australia
report
or-
to Australia or to David Jones. But I've read the reports that came back from the guys who went there a few weeks ago, and I think it's about 34 stores around the country. And as you say, it's a bit like John Orr's, Stutterford's. It's genuine department store. What they haven't got is food.
Ah.
And what Ian Moore is going to be doing there is putting some Woolies food through their private label stuff.
Just
You
like
know,
Grant Patterson did with Game, or slightly different.
No.
Okay.
Very different. Very different. Very different. Very different.
There we go. So, Sasha, you'll take it.
I'll take it
Now
because I know
that-
how this game works. I know Chris is a shrewd guy.
Okay, so there we go, Chris. You've had two of your stock picks chosen this evening. He's gone for both Mr. Price and Woolworths. He's given them both favourable write-ups. On to your second pick then, Sasha. Is this the one you're hoping that Chris will take, or maybe it's the
Maybe
third?
he'll take
or
both.
maybe
Yeah, you
he'll take all
never
three of your
know, yeah.
picks, because you're looking at Telkom, and
Yes.
you're looking at last week's results,
Yes,
and
yes.
you're looking at the share price movement,
Yes.
and you're thinking, these people are mad.
They're crazy.
You're going short on Telkom in 30 seconds. Tell me why.
Okay, well, revenue for the last 5 years is actually down from 36 to 32 odd billion rand. Remember that half their business is rental line subscription, as well as what people pay on calls. So I think for a legacy type business where you're seeing calls decimated around the world, there's no amount of cost cutting that they can do to justify the share price at these levels for the earnings that are going to come down the line. So I think it's wildly expensive.
There we go. You can't argue against that, Chris Gilmore. The market has been arguing against that for the last couple of weeks, driven the share prices
Well,
close
the
to
share price up
44
5% over 5 years.
Yeah, over 5 years.
Yes, exactly.
But that was pre-unbundling of Vodacom, sure.
No.
Oh, really?
No.
Post Vodacom?
But, well, they've aligned it to give you
Yes.
both. Yeah. So no, the fixed line business, awful. Now I'm getting more than my 30 seconds.
This is an incredibly tough one because on the one hand, I'm very inclined to go with this because I do believe that in the short term at least, Telkom is going to have some major problems. And they really have neglected their own backyard in terms of the copper in the ground. But I do believe there are some major opportunities, things like fibre to the home. They might not be leaders in it, but they're going to be into that. And I think we've just unfortunately got used to using things like wireless devices here to get our so-called broadband, which of course is rubbish. Ultimately, I think the ADSL fibre is going to come to
It
the
may
fore.
very well be the case, but are they the guys to do it? You look, for example, at the community of Parkhurst in Johannesburg, who put out to tender to wire up the suburb. Telkom was one of the bidders over there. But these no-name guys, these guys who until a couple of months ago nobody had ever heard of before, whose name escapes me even now, have taken this and they've got the contract to put fibre into the homes of the residents of Parkhurst. The residents of Camps Bay contacted me saying, can I have a phone number, please, for that guy, because we'd like to use him as well to do it. Telkom, I don't know when last you had 7 technicians in your home in 5 weeks to try and sort out one problem, but really, until they can sort out the basics, they have to be on a losing streak, and I have to go with Sasha on this one.
Yeah, can I also add something there? I mean, at
Let's bludgeon him and beat him.
you know where Lanseria Airport is there? There's a beautiful little collection called Monaghan Farm.
Yes.
MTN are installing fibre there up to 100 megabits per second
Absolutely
speed.
awesome. Okay. We should all go live at Monaghan Farm.
No, it's too far away. Come on, Bruce.
Chris Gilmore, we can go down. It's such a big pipe, we can just go down there.
Yes.
You've got to go short on Telkom, surely. If you're not with us-
Reluctantly, I have to say, because I also know where he's coming from here, I'm going to have to go with this one.
Now, this
because
is
I do
the
believe
first
it.
time in history on the show. What you have seen is our 2 stock pickers picking each other's stocks both times. Well, you'll make the call as to decide which stock picker is better, who's being more strategic, and who's wearing better shoes in a couple of minutes' time. But it is whether it's colour of the shoes or the colour of their ties, or whether or not it's simply whether they're wearing socks. We don't discriminate here on Share Shootout League. We follow at SSO League, and you then vote for either Bucks or #the Scot. Bucks is the tall guy. The Scot is the guy who doesn't drink whiskey. We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching Share Shootout League right here on CNBC Africa. This is the only league where you don't get multiple language commentary because you don't need it, because our guests are so awesome. This is match day 10. You decide who wins. You try tweeting any hashtag you like and we'll count it. If you tweet #the Scot or #Bucks, we'll take it as a vote, even if it is a retweet, and then we'll count it. And then we'll count it again if we like the contestant, and we'll discount the ones we don't like if we don't like the contestant. Fortunately tonight, we like both of our contestants enormously. What you have to do is follow at SSO League and decide to let your prejudice, put it aside, and then choose your favorite. We're going to look at our stocks that we've had so far this evening. Chris Gilmore from ABSA Investments has gone long on Mr. Price and Woolworths. Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact has said, yes, I'll take both of those. Thank you very much. And then Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact with 2 humdingers as well. Omnia, which Chris Gilmore has liked mostly for the last 20 years, particularly in the last 2, he gives the big thumbs up to Omnia. He also couldn't argue, despite trying, that Sasha was bonkers when it came to shorting Telkom, the market's most favourite share in the last couple of months. So we shorted Telkom, we've gone long on Omnia, and Chris Gilmore likes both of those. Chris Gilmore, you went first in the last round. So Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact, I'll make you go second this time.
Yes.
Again, because I just want to mess with your head, Chris Gilmore. Okay. Now, this is an interesting one because 10, 12 years ago, this was a company on its knees. This was a company begging to its shareholders to be tolerant and to be patient. This is a company that will be celebrating its 100th anniversary in 4 years' time. 1918, Sanlam was founded in Stellenbosch, and it is still going strong. In 30 seconds, tell me why you like Sanlam.
Suid-Afrikaanse Nasionale Lewensassuransie Maatskappy. What a lovely, lovely name.
That with a J on the end,
Yes,
because it's
yes.
Dutch.
Yes, exactly. But you know, this is a company that I think a lot of people think is quite boring because it's an insurance company. And I know Sasha's going to say doesn't like insurance companies because they're proxies in the market. I believe the market's going to go an awful lot higher. This company's going to go with it. Return on tangible net asset value is actually incredibly high. And relative to where it should be, in terms of its peers in the financial services sector, it's very cheap.
Now, you've got Johan van Zyl, who's taken that enormous brain of his and has applied it to Sanlam in a way that nobody thought possible 10 years ago. I think it was trading about 6 or 7 rand when he took it over. This share is north of 60 rand at the moment,
And
Sasha.
it's very widely held in
Very widely
South
held,
African
which is a good
context.
thing, surely.
No, I think it's a great thing because most of the people who hold those have kind of fallen asleep and then they wake up after 10 years.
And
And
realize
unless
they're
you
rich.
weren't in like an escort type situation, you go, oh, look at that. I've got some Old Mutual and Sanlam shares. Yeah,
Yes.
gosh, I've done well. Let's go on holiday. I don't know. You know, it almost feels like for the sake of the game, I should shoot this one down. But there's no way in hell that Chris can shoot my last one down. There is no way. So I think you're going to come across the situation here where I think Chris is right. The market is going to go higher from here. And so, you know, the investable pot that makes up the assets in which they back the insurance policies, etc. You know, the only bad thing that could happen here is kind of changing weather patterns. We've seen in a Johannesburg context some big hailstorms, so that is a consideration.
There's a short-term insurance angle there on Sanlam.
Yes.
Yeah. There is.
But how does that affect Sanlam? He's desperately trying to find something bad to say about Sanlam, but can't.
Well, our preferred one, you can only own one in the whole market, and our preferred one, who is more innovative than all of them, is Discovery.
Yes.
So it would be probably my second pick.
Oh, it would be your second pick. So would you accept this one, or would you shoot it down?
I'm going to, because I think there's no ways in hell Chris can say that my last pick is terrible.
Okay,
no ways in
he's
hell.
fighting talk. It's fighting talk the same. But it is interesting, isn't it, Chris? Because here we've got Sanlam. Johan van Zyl has made a real success of running this business. He's hired some very smart people. They've bolstered up the investment division in Sanlam Investment Management. Its performance is strong. It's got really good people working for it. It's spreading its network not only in South Africa, where it was shy in Gauteng, for example. It's not going into places like Malaysia. Into parts of Asia that no other South African company has ever touched.
But slowly and surely, and if you look at where their income is coming from, that 4-month update we had the other day, I mean, operational earnings up, 40% I think it is. It's quite phenomenal. So even, although the local market might be stagnating a bit, as you rightly say, I think they've got so many other strings to the bow. And Van Zyl, the master strategist.
There we go. Well, he's accepted it. Now, that's the first time that ever anybody has accepted
I'm
3
taking
shares.
a big risk here.
You are taking a big risk because you are going now into the last leg of this show.
Yes.
And in 30 seconds, I would like to know why you're choosing Barclays Africa. No, I'm joking. It's Apple in 30 seconds.
Apple. Well, here we got one of the world's biggest companies, iconic brand. They don't need to trade down because it's a luxury item that everyone wants. On an ex-cash basis, so if you strip out $155 billion, it's trading on less than an 11 multiple. So this is for a company that plans to sell iPhones, 188 million this year. The great news is once you're locked in the ecosystem, there's a 2-year renewal cycle. So they'll be coming with better, newer products continually.
It's just music.
This is just music.
It's fantastic. But you can stop now.
Thank you.
Is
Yes, have you got one in your pocket there, Chris? No, I do.
Do you use the iPhone?
No, I don't.
Exactly. So now, shoot it down.
But
Come
you
on.
want
Well,
one.
this is one of these funny things where the consumer product is just so magnificent. It's lovely. Oh, God, it's fantastic. I really wish I had one. But unfortunately, I've plugged away with BlackBerries for far too long now. But I think my next one is going to be either that or a Samsung. Now, the problem I have with this, and I read it somewhere on Twitter not so long ago.
So it must be true.
So it must be true. That some French
in 140 characters.
well, some French chappie who was a luxury brand guy, he said, I think the quote was, Veuve Clicquot will still be around in 100 years' time. I'm not so sure that the Apple iPhone S will be the same.
Absolutely right. I've heard that. But we don't want to be holding the share for 200 or 300 years.
No.
We want to be holding it for the next 5 years, perhaps, making some money out of it.
This is still the biggest market cap company in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was 555 billion when I last checked.
If I go back about 2-3 years ago, this is sitting in a multiple about 15, 16. So the multiple's actually come down.
No, it's actually still there. On an ex-cash basis, it's 11.
And I know they're playing back with the cash in terms of should they bring it back on shore, keep
100
it up,
billion
because of tax
buyback, so
considerations.
earnings will increase. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that with the demise of Mr. Jobs, that it's quite the same company, frankly. I think they've lost the genius.
Johnny Ives.
No. Steve Jobs.
Sir
Steve
Johnny
Jobs.
Ives. The guy Steve Jobs consulted with every single time. He wanted a lovely product. You can shoot it down.
Are you going to shoot it down?
Chris.
Reluctantly, I'm going to shoot it down because I love the product, but I'm not entirely sure that the share price is going to continue reflecting on
You say they're
this.
not trading down, but what was the iPhone 5C? It is a trade down. It's a desperate bid, and that was the first time you saw them blink. Was hold on a second, we're on this luxury track. We need to keep the mass market happy too. That was a blink, in my view.
Once you're locked in, Bruce, once you're locked into the Apple ecosystem, and this is the App Store buying music is flat.
It's like
granted.
Discovery, basically. You get trapped in the ecosystem.
You do. You
There we
get
go.
trapped
You
in
love
the
it.
ecosystem.
He doesn't. You picked
That's
3
fine.
of his.
The viewers can decide whether or not he's right or wrong.
You picked 3 of his shares. He picked 2 of yours.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends how many Apple iPhone users there are out there.
Absolutely
Yeah.
right. We'll
There
have
are
the
a few
hashtag until
Blackberries,
midnight on
yeah.
Sunday. Will you two stop fighting? You can fight afterwards. Until midnight on Sunday. These guys need your votes. They desperately need your votes. They are really down near the bottom of the league table. So either you go on to @SSO League and you vote for hashtag, of course, Bucks, who is Sasha, or hashtag the Scot, and you will then decide whether or not one of these guys will go through and will go on to 6 points to get into that pack that is chasing Running Dog. We'll be back next Tuesday, 8:30 for match day 11. There's still a long way to go before we crown a winner in the most unceasing stock picking show on television. Till next week, stay cunning.